I had the opportunity this morning to speak with a man called Frank Dimmock. Frank is one of the mission workers who works with the Outreach Foundation. It's a mission organisation that supports the work of the PCUSA, the EPC, and the ACO denominations, all three Presbyterian denominations. Frank is actually based right now in Malawi, in Central Africa. I hope you remember a couple of weeks ago I spoke about a typhoon and cyclone Freddy that had passed through Africa and had done some tremendous damage there, broken down so much of the infrastructure. Currently there are more than 500 people who have died. There are about 500,000 people who have been displaced. There's a rise in cholera incidences with the complications that arise because of this particular storm. I had the opportunity, as I say earlier this morning, to speak with Frank, and Frank was able to share some information about the work that he's doing, the work that the Outreach Foundation is doing, and some of the mission partners that work with them. He was able to help me and by extension help you understand ways that we can support the work that's going on in Malawi right now and how we can very specifically pray for the people of Malawi. So I share this conversation with you so that you can be much more informed in ways that we as a congregation are reaching out, and we as a community can reach out to those in Malawi who are very, very much in need right now. A couple of the responses that we've had so far as a session with the support of our mission team, we've committed $1,000 to help the Mulanje Mission Hospital with some of the recovery work that they are doing right now. We have set aside our sensibility offering that takes place on the first Sunday of each month. That money is going to go towards that particular hospital as well to help with the work that they're doing. As well, we've got a line in our online giving page that will go specifically to that particular work as well. So again, I'm going to hand over to Frank and the conversation that he and I had this morning, so that we can learn a little bit more about everything that's going on in Malawi. So Frank, it's great to be able to spend this time with you. Talking about Malawi. Tell me how long you've actually been serving in Malawi, and what your role there is right now.
Right, thank you, Ian. I came to Malawi with my family back in 1992. We had been in the southern African country of Lesotho, came to Malawi in 92, were in the north in Mzuzu, then moved down to Lilongwe in 97, and stayed until 2006. We went back to Lesotho in southern Africa. I was working with HIV and AIDS at that time. I came back to Malawi last year in 2022 in February on a one-year kind of agreement with the medical director at Nkoma Hospital. So my background is public health, and I've been the Africa Health Coordinator for the Presbyterian Church, and now I'm working with the Outreach Foundation, and I work in health with vulnerable families, compassionate ministries, all kinds of things. And here in Malawi, I'm at Nkoma Hospital. I've been the deputy director of the hospital, deputy hospital director. And in that role, I've done a little bit of everything from correspondence and communication with donors to internal communication in the hospital, writing proposals for funding, doing a variety of things. But really public health is my love. And when the cholera outbreak happened here in Malawi, in this region in November of last year, we had, and as of 24 hours ago, we've had over 1,100 cases of cholera here at this hospital, and we've had 11 deaths. So our case fatality rate is quite low. WHO is very pleased. They've been very supportive, as have Samaritan's Purse, who have provided some relief for us as well. And then on top of the cholera came Freddy, the cyclone that came through in February and came back in March. And it just devastated, particularly the southern regions of the country. It's affected the whole country, though, actually. We've had incredible amounts of rain, which has destroyed some houses and pit latrines and other things. But in the South, it's just wiped out villages and roads. And we're involved in a lot of relief effort, sending things down to the South. The Senate sent 3 lorries, three trucks of supplies down there. And our hospital is collecting food and clothing to send down this week.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, you know, from our perspective, right here in America, you know, we've seen the effects of a number of different hurricanes. Okay,
Right.
you know, affecting New Jersey a few years ago, last year down in the New Orleans area. It strikes me that the effect of something like this cyclone, this typhoon that's blown through Malawi, as catastrophic as things get here, it seems like that's a completely different level in Malawi. Can you talk a little bit about how that has impacted lives in Malawi?
Sure, it's destroyed a lot of the infrastructure that did exist. Roads, communication towers, and electricity. Of course, clean water is not available now, and then most people's houses are made of mud bricks,
right,
with thatch roofs, and they just couldn't withstand that kind of wind force and heavy rains. They were having in a 12-hour period, they had 18 inches of rain.
Wow,
in a 12-hour period, and it's like buckets of rain. And so the ground just couldn't absorb it, and it just flooded everywhere. And so roads were washed out. There were landslides off the hills and the mountains in southern region, and people disappeared. They just were swept away in the water. And it had a ripple effect, of course, because relief could not be done very easily. We had to bring in helicopters from Zambia and from Tanzania, and the Army was involved, and just nobody has ever dealt with this kind of event before. And so they're still working on it. We've got a lot of folks from the UN agencies, from WHO and UNDP and UNICEF and the others, just trying to provide for people who are in camps. Now, these camps have been set up in primary schools all over the southern region. Many of them are church primary schools, Presbyterian primary schools that are closed. They're not doing any teaching. Things have been washed away, and many of the teachers and their families have been affected, of course. And so the schools have been turned into displaced people camps, and we're trying to get food and blankets and clothing and bedding to those camps, and clean water.
Okay. So for those of us who are here, right, in America, and feel called, feel the need to help the folks in Malawi. I mean, you had, when I contacted you last week, you'd recommended that we support some of the work that's being done through the Mulanje Mission Hospital.
Yes.
Would you say that's, or let me just ask you very directly, what is the best way for us over here to be able to help the ongoing work in Malawi right now?
Right. Well, there's several routes that people are taking to send aid. Mulanje Mission Hospital is our partner hospital in the south, and Mulanje District was heavily affected by this cyclone, and it's on the border with Mozambique. The roads were washed away to the hospital, so they couldn't refer patients or pick up patients from the village except by boat. And it's a great hospital. Fortunately, they run a lot of their hospital off of solar, so they were able to continue providing services, although a lot of the staff were affected, and families of staff, of course. And so it's really affected them. The Blantyre Synod, which is our Presbyterian Synod in the South, also has a way to channel aid, and I can send that to you. Presbyterian Disaster Assistance out of Louisville
Okay.
is connected, and they work with the ACT appeal, ACT appeal, and they're working with partners in southern Malawi as well. So there are several different routes of sending aid. I thought, the hospital was the first one that I was in touch with
Okay.
to
Okay.
see how they were doing, and they're very responsible. I trust them completely.
Okay. Okay. As well as the financial help and practical help that we can that we can offer, as a church, as a wider community. I know that when this video goes out, we'll share it with folks on YouTube. So it's going to go out to the wider community as well. So my hope is that, as much aid, financial aid, is coming into to Malawi. I hope that the folks that see this, the situation captures their heart, and that there are some real ways that folks nearby us can reach out and can help as well. What are some of the ways that very specifically right now we can pray for you, we can pray for your work, we can pray for families, we can pray for situations that are going on? What are some very specific prayer needs? Because I know there's a lot of people who, to use the word, are prayer warriors that love to pray.
Wonderful.
Pray specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Prayer is number one. And the prayers for those who are directly affected, certainly in the south of Malawi, their families they've lost family members and their homes have been destroyed. There are thousands of people who are displaced. So prayers for those who are affected directly, prayers for the relief workers who are still trying to dig out and find bodies and find those who have been affected. Prayers for the church there in Blantyre Synod. It's a large Presbyterian church. There are probably about 1.8 million members and quite a few congregations all over that region. And certainly some of the prayer houses, congregations, church buildings have been affected and damaged. And I can send you connections for that later. We've had rains all over Malawi. We've had heavy rains here. We've had more rain in the last 6 weeks than we get all year. So there's a lot of washing, and the roads have been affected all over the country. Our electricity is primarily coming from a hydro that is in the south, off the Shiri River, which is actually south of Blantyre, and it was affected. It was actually affected a year ago by cyclones that came through and knocked out the turbines, and they have been working desperately for the last 12 months to rebuild. And now this Freddy has come through, and they've clogged some of the turbines with muddy water and mud and silt. And so we're doing a lot of what's called load shedding, which is sharing what little electricity is being generated. And we have electricity about every other day for a couple of hours, and we're in the central region. So in the south, lines, electric lines are down. People are totally without. And
I think you said to me as we were connecting that you're on backup power right now. You don't have power right now, so you're on backup.
I don't have power at the moment. I've got a battery system that charges in the middle of the night whenever we get power. Okay. And fortunately, it's still here with me at the moment. Okay. Okay. So with the electricity goes water pumping often. So those who still have water connections, those are often interrupted because the pumps are out because the electricity's off. So there's kind of a ripple effect of the cyclone in a number of areas. There's staff even at our hospital, of course, who have families who live in the south and or from the south, and so they are grieving. I have training in trauma healing and work in mental health, and primarily with refugees from South Sudan, and yet I'm finding it very appropriate to our situation here. There are lots of people who are grieving, and there are many probably in your congregation and area that know about trauma healing and working with those who are affected by some adverse event, and that's certainly the case here. So your prayers are most appreciated for all of this. And then whatever resources can be gathered, It's difficult to provide in-kind resources from where you are, but certainly funding, and we can purchase things. We can purchase blankets here in the central region and send them to the south, and we've been doing that. So yeah, resources are after prayers. That's the second most needed thing.
Well, Frank, I'm very grateful for you taking this time and spending some of your precious battery power to make this call. Okay,
Right.
I'm very, very grateful for this. I think this has really helped the folks in my congregation, the wider community, to get a real idea of some of the things that are happening with you, with the people in Malawi, and so that we can respond appropriately in Jesus' name to help our brothers and sisters who are very, very much in need at this time. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and it's great. Please greet your congregation and folks in your community, and we certainly appreciate their prayers.
God bless you.
And God bless you.